You know, the loss of Charlie Kirk is far beyond just a crazy person taking the life of someone because they didn't like what that someone was saying.
Street justice, like it or not, it's a very effective tool. I've seen firsthand in person when criminals laughed at my face. Like, what are you gonna do? I'll be out the back door, I'm gonna do it again. Like, to my face would I arrest them, because they knew they would get away with nearly murder.
Okay, well, professors profess, but they don't practice. There's not a single business professor out there who can outperform me.
B, thank you so much for being here. Guest of honor, ladies and gentlemen. I don't do introductions like I was telling B right now, but this man deserves an introduction. You know, I thank you for taking the time, man. You're one of my mentors in business, but not only that, you're a great man, businessman, father, husband, a mentor and coach to many people out there. And you've single-handedly, you and team changed the lives of a lot of people that I personally know, including myself. So thank you for finding the time and being here, brother.
First of all, thank you for that great introduction. Secondly, it's easy to be a great mentor when you've got great students like you. And I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. Like, you're one of those dudes where you saw an opportunity, you pivoted industries, and it was an industry, like I was telling you in the warehouse when you were giving me a tour, it's not even an industry that's similar to your previous job. It's a whole new industry. And you were like, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to be it, and now we're going to scale it. And I love coming out here and seeing those trucks wrapped with your logo. But yeah, man, what you've got going on is huge. This microphone keeps sliding down, so we're going to tighten it.
Tighten it real nice, yeah.
What you've got going on is huge out here, man, and I'm just happy to be a part of it and supporting you. All right, first of all, we need to figure out how to tighten this, so you'll have to just do some editing.
Nah, there's no editing necessary. This is as real as it gets.
Yeah, this is as real as it gets. All right, so anyways, man, Huntington Beach, and I'll give you a little synopsis, because as we got off the exit at Beach Boulevard, I used to go from Anaheim, take Beach Boulevard all the way to the beach, Huntington Beach, and boogie board right out here by the pier. So this is like my old stomping grounds, man, when I was younger. And now that I live in Chino Hills, I'm a little more inland. So it was good to kind of take a drive down the roads that I was so familiar with.
I brought you back to your memories, right?
You did,
okay,
man.
Good. I'm glad you like it. You know, Huntington Beach is one of the two, I think, non-sanctuary cities.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I enjoy it.
Yeah. There's not too many non-sanctuary cities in Southern California. This is one of the few.
Yeah. But well, like I said, thank you for being here. I do have a few questions for you. I'll be respectful of your time. But unfortunately, I want to start off this episode with something that's on my heart, on your heart, and something that's going on in our nation. I think it's important because your values and morals align with that, and so are mine. And in a recent day, less than 24 hours ago, literally 24 hours ago.
Yeah, literally 24
we
hours ago.
lost an incredible human being with great potential, the person who influenced a lot of people, a great legendary Charlie Kirk, rest in peace.
Yep. You know, the loss of Charlie Kirk is far beyond just a crazy person taking the life of someone because they didn't like what that someone was saying. So we can say this is a freedom of speech thing, and there's truth to that. And I'm an immigrant to this country. I have very bold beliefs and viewpoints. There are people that have very bold beliefs and viewpoints that are very opposite of mine. I would never once consider taking someone's life, because as an immigrant to this country, one of the reasons my dad brought us here is because of our constitutional rights, and those rights being governed by the very First Amendment, freedom of speech. And so to think that because someone has a very bold view on a topic, on a perspective, not a bad view, by the way, it's just a bold view. It's a very different view. It's a conservative view. And I have no problem with anyone that's got very strong liberal views. That is the fiber of America. And we can have discourse and conversation and debates and even get heated. But never once would I ever consider taking someone's life because their bold view is polar opposite of mine. And to see how it has come to that now, where a man's life, Charlie Kirk, was taken because of his bold view. But I think there's, and someone might call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's a greater agenda here at play. Because we also know that that young man at the age of 31 had every potential and had every possibility of becoming a future president and leader of our country. And I think when a voice that strong, that clear, that powerful, that bold stands out, it is a threat to the ideology of those who don't believe in those views. And so this was not just, hey, I don't like what he's saying and it's opposite to my bold views and I'm going to kill him. This is not that. This is, if this guy continues to climb and continues to vocalize his opinion, and remember the influence that he had. He is going into universities. Youth. Taking the next generation who's going to be the working class, the class that innovates, the class that creates, and he's getting them and waking them up and empowering them to think clearly, to think without filters and not just to be told how to think. And that is a very dangerous man. And then to think that he would have the potential in the next decade or so to become president, he was a threat to everything that the opposition stands for, and unfortunately got assassinated. Now, I can tell you this, that for every bold voice like that that gets taken out, 10 more come in their place. And so the powers that be that did this, unfortunately for them, woke up a sleeping giant where a greater voice of good that Charlie Kirk did will come and fill that vacuum. And I can't wait for that. And I will get behind that. I will endorse that, and I will promote that voice.
I definitely agree with you. I was talking to my wife about that yesterday, how unfortunate this event was. But I was also letting her know that most of the time, men, true masculine men, right? Men are patient. They know how to control their anger, so there's no need to commit the violence such as the opposition does, because
Right.
they can control it. But when you push the men, when you push the sleeping bear for so long, or like the roaring lion, right, from that movie, he ends up waking up and he'll tear everything into pieces.
Yeah.
And it's so relevant, that Turning Point USA, that maybe now, unfortunately, that we lost such a great person, this will be the turning point for this country to finally reassess the situation and realize, okay, the men and the women of this country need to stand up and need to really prioritize the things that Charlie talked about.
Yeah.
Faith, God, family, marriage, capitalism.
Yeah. Core values.
The
core values that America was founded on. And those that made the decision, I believe it was a planned out, very well executed assassination, had zero regard for this man's wife, for his 1-year-old son, and his 3-year-old daughter. They are truly the victims of all of this. And all because, again, they feel that his views, there was no hate in his views. It was just a very bold conservative view, and he was so good at orating that view.
That was
Yes.
put a target on his back.
That's what put a target on his back.
He knew how to articulate himself in a way that he could get to the opposition, to the youth who are stubborn, who are
And
indoctrinated.
brainwashed in the universities.
And he was able to. He was so good. I don't think there's anybody else. The only person I would know that's so good is Jordan Peterson. But even he's at a different level.
Yeah.
He's not political like Charlie was, and
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the shooter was somebody, like, we can blame it on an amateur, like in Trump's attempt, or you think this was somebody was a professional hit, in your opinion?
The shooter may be an amateur in terms of the person behind the trigger, maybe a regular person, but I believe that he may have been encouraged,
Powers behind.
funded, trained by much higher powerful people who wanted Charlie Kirk to be gone. Because this way, at the end of the day, when he gets caught, it's going to be easier to say, oh, look, he was just a young, crazy kid who had these ideologies and belief systems that were different than Charlie's, and he's got journals that he talks about hating Charlie, and we can make him out to be a crazy man, right? And versus, hey, look, it's a former military special operations guy who has got this training, he's a mercenary, and if that guy gets caught, it's going to be very obvious that the government or the CIA or someone funded this guy, right? And so it would make sense that they take someone who they can then say he was just a deranged young man who was delusional and crazy. But I believe he was funded, trained, and positioned there by the opposition. And I guess time will tell, and it's unfortunate that this happened.
The reason why I ask is because I'm a nerd when it comes to like, shootings and some ballistics and weapons. As an instructor for firearms and tactics myself, as prior law enforcement, I always look at the facts, the trajectory, and obviously the investigation will show everything. But the way he died, I don't know if you saw the video or not. I had to watch it multiple times to understand where the bullet came from and the shot and the cracking web, so I can kind of tell what kind of rifle was used, where the shot placement came from, and where he was hit. Doesn't tell me there was a professional, because a professional from 200 yards, like I'll hit 10 out of 10 with a rifle, with a bolt action rifle. But the fact that he got hit on the neck and the round that was used, it's either, like you said, an amateur with powers behind him, or an extreme professional who needed that shot to look like that, because the way the placement of the round, it was a gruesome scene, man. And that was...
I mean, you immediately see the blood gushing out.
And not only was the blood, he hit the carotid, that's obvious, but also you don't want to use a round that's too big because it creates a vacuum and it'll explode the neck or the head. So you need the round just big enough that will go in, that will create an impact, that will make a hole big enough, but also you could tell it hit by the way, by the cording of the body. You could tell it hit the spine. That usually happens when you turn off the brain or spine immediately. That impulse happens. And but I think you're right. It was the amateur who was trained just enough to place that shot, and the scene was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, but to think that we live in a time that if you have a very bold view and I have a bold view, if they're different, then we should be able to talk it through, discuss it out, even get heated about it. But never once would either one of us think that we're going to go to murderous rage. And this is why I think, like, I don't think this was just someone trying to say, like, hey, forget the First Amendment. This guy is bad for the country. I really believe that they saw that he had the potential to become president. If he becomes the president, then the left-leaning liberal populace of this country will begin. Look, if you have Charlie Kirk sitting in the White House 8-10 years from now, like, you've got a big problem on your hand if you're left-leaning. And so the fastest way to eliminate the possibility of that is to kill him while he's young.
Cut it at the root.
Yeah.
And he didn't talk just about, wasn't outspoken about the socialism, the left, the Marxism. He talked about Islam. He talked about radical Islam. And he clearly said that socialism, Marxism, mixed with radical Islam is a threat to his country. Yeah. And he was very outspoken about that. Yeah. Question to you is this: where did we go wrong? Why is it that we became a society where, like in the case of the arena, right? Like, how a young girl gets stabbed and people just literally turn the other way. Or somebody speaks out their beliefs and about the morals and the values, and the opposition cheers when they're murdered on national television. Like, how and why do you think we got to this point, man?
Well, so you make a good point about that young lady from Ukraine, Irina. And, it's sad that she escapes a warring country to come to the United States, works at a pizzeria, is sitting on a bus. There's 3 men and 2 other women there on the bus, in addition to her and the murderer. And none of the men jump up to help her while she's being murdered. And only one stays around to help in terms of, once the murderer leaves, to try and help her out. It's unfortunate because society, and here's what happened. You think about that Marine in New York in the subway. I forget his name.
Choked the guy.
He choked the guy out.
Oh my God! The left made such a big deal about it.
They made a big deal. They arrested him. They put him through the ringer legally. And so, what does that tell all of us who want to be a good Samaritan?
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Look the other way. And so, you ask me what went wrong. I'll tell you what went wrong. The politicians, the apologetic judges, who think that reform could happen on a violent criminal. I believe reform could happen on a white-collar criminal. Someone's doing tax evasion, someone's doing wire fraud, all these things. Let's give that guy a chance for reform. Although I'm a little extreme, I wouldn't even want to give that guy a chance, because if you show me once that you are morally corrupt, it probably goes down to the core, right? But even if you're a white-collar criminal where you're just doing money scams, it's unlikely that you're going to physically harm me if we give you a second chance or a third chance. Why on God's green earth would we take someone who's a murderer, who's a rapist, who's a pedophile, who is someone that has harmed someone physically, and give them a second, third, fourth, in this guy's case, 14th chance? Why? And so when judges like this believe in this kind of reform, and they like, the judges should be held accountable. The politicians that make the laws should be accountable. The organizations that lobby for the freedoms of these violent criminals should be held accountable. That's part number one. Part number two, our legal system is so screwed up because we can play the race card anytime we want. We can say there was tampering with the DNA anytime we want. And by the time when someone murders and by the time they're prosecuted, look how many years go by. Look how many years go by. And then if they are actually punished, there's a great chance that they could be freed and set out into public again. And so if I don't fear the consequences, it's not going to stop me from murdering. However, if someone murders and we have it on video like we just did on that bus, immediately, within a week, he should be hanging off some bridge somewhere publicly.
I agree.
Yeah.
This is nothing you need to sit there and go to court for and waste taxpayers' money.
No, let's save our taxpayer dollars. Because here's what happens, man. When there's a criminal, any kind of case in court, both the plaintiff and the defendant, or in this case, the victim and the accused, already know the truth. The only person on trial is the judge. It's the only person on trial. So let's save our tax dollars. And if we have evidence and video, hang them. And if enough people saw that, if school shooters saw that, or that young man that went into that church full of kids and did that shooting.
That was pure evil.
Let's not talk about their names. Let's immediately catch them and kill them publicly. And watch how quickly people go, man, it is not worth it. It is not worth it because I can't claim that I was mentally insane. I can't claim that I had a bad childhood and this is what happened. Look at all the different claims they can make and all the different areas they have in terms of escaping the law, right? And so there needs to be, one, there needs to be consequences, and two, there needs to be accountability by the judges, the politicians, and the organizations that defend violent criminals. And if the consequences came fast and severe, and these politicians, judges, and organizations were held accountable for each person that went back out and were reformed, but really weren't, and went back out and committed a heinous crime like that, that's the fastest way to correct the areas that we went wrong. Now, can we go deeper into this conversation? Yes. Then we have the nuclear family, the destruction of the nuclear family. Oh, yeah. Where are the moms and dads? Because I can tell you, my son and daughter, Chloe and Andrew, will never be accused of something like that. They were raised better. They were raised different with character, core values, integrity. We poured into them. And make no mistake about it, I have stresses. My family has stresses. We all have the same stresses and issues and family issues. But that doesn't mean my wife and I were absent from raising our children with a moral code and values where they become an asset and not a liability or a risk to humanity. So where are the parents, right? Again, that has to start. What about the school system? Why are we spending so much time teaching our young boys that, yes, you can use a tampon, and oh, by the way, you might feel like a little girl inside, and if you do, let your teacher know, and the teacher will let the counselor know, and counselor will let a doctor know, and we can just circumvent your parents. We can just go behind your parents' back and start some kind of hormone therapy if we need to, because, hey, we're in California, because we can do that. And I love California. I live in California. You live in California. And the point I'm making here is if we allow this to continue, California, then Oregon, then Arizona, and we just go east across the country.
It's over.
And so where did we begin? I think we began where I said fast and severe consequences and holding the judges, politicians, and organizations that support reform for violent criminals accountable immediately. And I'm talking like putting them in prison. I'm talking about considering never letting them out of prison. And when that happens, the criminals think twice, and the judges and the politicians think twice about coming up with harebrained ideas like this the next time they're up for election.
Did you know that judge didn't even go to law school?
Stop it.
That judge who let him out on the last charge didn't go to law school. And as a matter of fact, I think in Florida or in Texas, they immediately wrote legislation where they're not going to hold judges accountable for if they don't incarcerate these kind of individuals. And as a matter of fact, they started digging deeper and they found out dozens of judges, because those are appointed. Yeah. Dozens of judges were appointed as judges and they didn't even go to law school, never took a bar exam. How crazy is that?
What qualifies them?
I don't know. I don't know. Apparently,
to literally pass judgment. What
apparently somebody appointed
them.
Judgment? Something. I don't know. Maybe like me. Like I went to school and I got a master's degree in criminology and law. Maybe that's enough. But you can't be a judge without becoming an attorney first and passing the bar. What? That's crazy. Yeah. It's insane. And
if you can't understand the law, how can you then uphold the law?
Exactly. Right. It's insane. And everything you said, honestly, people are gonna say you crazy because I watched this episode to hang people. I guarantee you they're gonna say that. But I'm gonna back up what you said by my own experience as a cop, right, for nearly a decade. I'm telling you, first of all, street justice, like it or not, it's a very effective tool.
Mm-hmm.
So many times I've seen, when Gascon was in office, I was on patrol still, right? I've seen firsthand in person when criminals laughed at my face, like, what are you going to do? I want to be out in 6 hours.
Right.
Give me my fucking ticket and I'm out. I'll be out the back door. I'm going to do it again. Like, to my face without arrest them, because they knew they would get away with nearly murder.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also seen what happened to Irina. I've seen that. I've responded to calls where people were either murdered or nearly murdered, to the point, like bludgeoned to death nearly, by a person who was let out the night before, because it was that cite and release, we call the program. It was an absolute horrible program. When I witnessed it, this is when I started contemplating of being a cop, because I saw down the road. And after that, I had an incident where I was forced to call a man a woman, because otherwise I would have got in trouble. And that's how I'm like, okay, I think this is a time for me to call it
you to
quits.
change your ideology.
I had an incident where I lawfully detained a grown man, fitting the description of a suspect.
Yeah.
And he was refusing to give me a name. He said, my name is 8-year-old Melissa. That's funny. Steve's son and daughter remember that story. And I kept pressing him to the point, like, listen, man, cut the bullshit. You're lawfully detained. I'm going to arrest you right now. That's a misdemeanor you're committing right now if you're not going to give me your name. So I proceeded with that. I finished the investigation. I go back. A few days later, we get randomly audited on our body-worn camera. I get pulled aside by my sergeant. Now, he's a good sergeant. He did this to me not to punish me, but he pulled me aside like, listen, man, I did your random audit. I saw that video. You're not punished, but I'm letting you know right now that had this video been seen by a different sergeant that might not like you and then send upstairs, they would have written you up. They would have disciplined you, because they want you to acknowledge the fact that this grown-ass man is an 8-year-old female. So that day I went home and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to start making moves. And fast forward, a few years, I'm here today, because I'm looking at 5 years in advance. I'm like, I can't do this. If I stick here, if I stay there, I'm gonna either punch some Captain lieutenant in the face and I'll be fired, or I'll do something that I'm going to regret. So time for me to start packing up.
Think about and it's great that sergeant had your back and said, look, man, if you want to continue to be a cop, these are the rules. And I get it, right? I get it. But it's unfortunate that it has to be that way, because then good men like you, who are free thinking and not just, well, you told me to think this way so I could call a grown man 8-year-old Melissa, right? Good men like you essentially are pushed out of the police force. And so we're left with who? Robots and yes men and yes women who are not free thinking and therefore can be easily manipulated. This is exactly what happened during COVID, when they said, look, all of those guys in the special operations, Green Beret, Delta, SEALs, you got to take the vaccine. And if you don't, get out. And so a lot of the guys that I know, because I coach them in their businesses as they retire, and they got out and they started telling me about, hey, I have a friend who's in and he's getting out. I have a friend who's in, he's getting out. And of course, then who are they backfilling those seats with? Guys that just said, yes, sure, I'll take the vaccine. That's fine. You could do the thinking for me, only to find out now, here we are 5 years later, all the repercussions that people are experiencing from the vaccine. And of course, all those guys from the special operations community are now getting back pay because, and doctors and nurses who were
and
booted
cops,
out.
yeah.
Cops,
I was
right?
about to quit back then. I lawyered up. I was ready to quit. I was like, there's no way I'm going to take this job. Luckily, our union fought for us, and I used the religious exemption. But I was like, there's no way. I'm going to turn in my gun and badge, and I'm out. Fuck you guys. Didn't come down to that. But it's crazy. People were literally rolling over and be like, I'm going to do this because I have a wife and I have kids. And I don't blame them. At the time, I was single dude, but I had
you
guys
can make that decision back
who were
then.
like, dude,
Right.
I can't. I have to. I got 2 3 kids at home. I'm a sole provider. I have to do this. And to me, it's sad. It's tyranny, if you ask me.
It is tyranny. And in a free, what is supposed to be a free country, it's tyranny. And beyond that, what a effective way to thin out and remove free thinking, and beyond free thinking and free acting Americans who would question authority. There's nothing wrong with questioning authority. That's how America was founded. They said, "Hey, you know what, Mr. King? We don't believe in the taxes as you are oppressing on us. We don't believe in forcing us in the religion that you're oppressing on us. We're going to get on this ship called the Mayflower and go across the water, and we're going to find this piece of land, and we're going to colonize it because they were, one, free thinking, and two, they questioned authority. If we don't question authority, things get out of hand. And so this is an organic way for them to thin out free thinkers like you. But again, it's always been that way, and all we can do is voice a message like this and hope that it lands on the right ears, and they realize, like, all right, at some point the tides have to turn. And so will this whole Charlie Kirk thing, will the tides turn? I hope so. I hope more voices come out. I hope people start marching. I kind of frankly hope that people start rioting. Why don't we start rioting on this? We riot for much lesser shit, where you take George Floyd, who was hopped up on fentanyl, who had pistol whipped a pregnant woman, who had a criminal record, and I absolutely agree that cop should not have killed him and had his knee on his neck that long or whatever. That aside, what are we doing celebrating a criminal and making murals? Like, if we can march on that, why don't we start marching on this as well and start burning some cities down and figuring out exactly how we're going to rebuild and reset? Because I do believe there's a reset necessary, and it's unfortunate, but I believe we're there now.
But do you realize if the other side, people like us in our community and common sense masculine men will start rioting, there will be no riots. It'll just be people straight taken out quietly.
Yes,
because
exactly.
the people that we surround ourselves and the people that share our values,
Yeah.
like law enforcement, military, special ops, like, a lot of friends of mine, somebody will wake up and they stand above them.
Yeah.
There's no need for a riot. They're not going to burn. Well, maybe they will, but just as well as I do that these people will just take care of business.
And obviously what I'm saying is part in anger and part in jest, because obviously I don't condone the rioting and the burning of cities. But the point I'm making is, if there was ever a valid time to do it, it is now. For that young lady that was on the bus, for Charlie Kirk, it is now, because at some point we have to call a spade, and it is what you are willing to riot for, and then we're expected to just quietly stand on the sidelines and wait patiently until you're done having a temper tantrum about some crackhead, drug fiend, pregnant woman, pistol whipping knucklehead. This is a much more valid and honorable reason to riot, yet we choose not to, and instead, hopefully there'll be a different awakening to be able to somehow reset our country back to the path that we were once on when I believe Reagan was in office.
And I think I agree with you. And I think what we want can come at a very steep price.
Yeah.
And it's, me and you, we both realize that sometimes we have to tread very carefully, because the price of what we want and what we think should happen is very high. Because last time it happened, 1776 and before,
That's right.
we paid a big price.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, moving on from like I said, we talk about this for hours. But what I wanted to ask you about is faith. I never had a chance to talk to you about faith, and where do you stand with faith, and do you believe in God, or what do you believe in as a person, as a human?
Yeah, I do believe in God. I do believe that we have a creator. And I know this to be true because in the most dire moments of when you feel your life is about to end, every single human organically goes, "Oh, God." Like, why do we exclaim God in that most scariest moment where we feel our life might end or some disaster might happen? So I think it is organic, it is innate, and it is built within us, right? It is factory. God is factory installed in us. However, I do not believe in religion. So do I believe in faith? I do believe in a higher power. Best way, what I would ask your audience to do is, if there was one book I would ask you to read, or an audiobook that I would ask you to listen to, it would be by Joseph Campbell, The Power of Myth. Because you quickly find that all religion is a myth. In other words, I believe that Jesus was alive. Jesus was a good dude, I'm sure. Jesus was righteous, and he shared very valuable, integrity-based, core values way of living. It's a given. However, every religion talks about dying and then being reborn, right? That is a very powerful myth, that we need to die as our human selves and be reborn as consciousness, our higher self. As humans, we are human animals. We are instinctively impulsive, greedy, selfish, emotional, and mostly governed by our thoughts and feelings. That is a human animal. A human being is someone who has elevated to a greater level of consciousness and self-awareness, where instead of reacting to something, they respond because they took a moment or two or three or a day or two to think about their actions before they react, right? A human animal reacts, a human being responds. A human being knows that they have to kill their lesser version and ascend up to a higher version to be better connected with their creator. And so my position on faith is exactly that. I believe there's a creator. I believe we have but one creator, because how can so many religions be right?
Mm-hmm.
It just common sense tells me all these religions can't be right unless we have multiple gods and, of course, multiple saviors. Or we have to understand that there's one creator and we really all worship the same creator, but the vehicle in which we get there, whether it's Allah, whether it's Muhammad, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Jesus, the vehicle is different. And so I always tell people, listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me what your vehicle is, but we all know that there's a higher power, and it is up to us to be connected to him, to our creator. And if you have faith in him, you will have greater faith in yourself, because in those times where you feel that there's no hope and light, there's always faith. Because look, right now, life is going really great for me, man.
God bless.
Thank you. And I'm very blessed for that. But 2 years ago, I tore my tricep. 2 months later, my mom was put on hospice. 2 months after that, my mom died.
Your son's friend.
31 days after that, Nicholas Capoletti, my son's best friend since elementary school, died. And how do you tell a young 18-year-old man, young man, that I'm sorry that your best friend died? Like, he knew grandma was going to die. She was 80-something and she had dementia, right? And then even 2 years before that, the pandemic hit and wiped out half of my franchise locations, right? I'm the founder of Fit Body Boot Camp, and we went from 600 locations to 300 locations. And so I had a massive losing season, a 2-year losing season. But I did not lose faith. I lost hope. I didn't see light at the end of the tunnel, but I did not lose faith. And so how can we believe that there is no higher power when in the most dire moments, when our life is on the line, we naturally and organically exclaim, "Oh God, help me," right? So it is within us. Might be buried deep within us. Maybe we don't want to acknowledge it because something happened or we grew up as atheists or whatever, but there is a higher power. Unfortunately, religion has become so corrupt and it's been used to manipulate. So I'm not a man of religion. I am a man of faith, both faith in the higher power and faith in myself. And in those times when I do have hope and light, like I do right now, I'm in a massive winning season. And I'm massively grateful for it. Faith is still something I carry with me, because I know that just because I'm in a winning season now doesn't mean that the losing season isn't around the corner. It is. That is life. There's ebbs and flows. And I will, before I die, I will have more losing seasons than winning seasons.
My mom told me something when I was young. She said a few profound things. One of them was, life is like zebra. Black and white stripes. It's good and bad times. That's a bad thing. But the good thing is neither one of them lasts forever.
Right.
So you just gotta get through. If it's a great time, it's great.
Yeah.
If it's bad time, just gotta move forward.
You know what I love about that? She makes such a good point. Because when you just picture a zebra, you realize if my life was to start at the tail of the zebra, and my life is, let's say we all are gifted with a rich life where we live to 90, 100 years old. My life starts at the tail of the zebra and it ends at the nose of that zebra. There's a lot of black and white stripes. And so if I'm going to go through all that, one thing I always tell my coaching clients is I say, what happens when you're going through the winning seasons? What can you do to prolong the winning seasons? Maybe not make some stupid decisions, because when we're winning, money's coming in. Every decision you're making, you're knocking out of the park. Everyone's like, "Great job, Bedros. You are the man. Alex, holy crap, man. The furniture I got from you was next level, and we paid, fraction of the price." We start getting our ego and we start losing our humility. That is the fastest way to lose our winning season. So I've learned that when you're in a winning season, there's some things you can do to prolong it. Stay humble, stay consistent, and act like tomorrow morning might be the day one of the losing season. And then when you're in the losing season, there are things you can do to shorten it. Most people, when they're in their losing seasons in life, they prolong that because they go, "Woe is me. I'm a victim. This happened to me. This sucks. She left me. This person got sick. I lost this money. No one likes me. Look at the stuff they're saying about me on social media. The more you bitch and complain when you're in a losing season, the more you're going to prolong that losing season. And the more you celebrate and high five and look at yourself as the man during the winning season, the more you're going to shorten that losing season. So let's stay humble and consistent and focused and hardworking during our winning seasons to be able to prolong it. And let's stay equally as humble, hardworking, consistent, and focused during our losing seasons to shorten it and get back to the winning season. I believe that while the zebra has black and white lines, I believe we can make those white lines thicker and make those black lines thinner so that we can have more winning seasons by the time we get to that end of that life.
Speaking of being humble, now I know, I love what you said, by the way, and it's I have a lot of what you just said. I have questions to ask, but speaking of being humble, let's talk about that for a second. I know you love cars. I know you have a lot of nice cars, and but first of all, you never flash your shit.
Right.
The one thing I noticed about you, one thing I actually like you compared to a lot of other people out there that I could have chosen as a mentor, besides maybe us being from a communist country, speaking the same language.
Right.
You don't flash. You always stay humble.
Yeah.
I mean, you always do. You always wear jeans, t-shirt, and a hat. Like the only few times I've seen you like in a suit or something, I was like, oh shit, B.
Yeah. You really combed his hair and dressed up today. Yeah.
Where's the shirt at?
Yeah.
So you definitely represent. You preach. You practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And I never seen you flash. I never seen you talk about lifestyle and this and that, even though you have it. So I think it's you do practice what you preach. Why do you believe that? Like nowadays, in comparison, we have so many freaking these coaches and influencers out there who just attract people by showing the flashy lifestyles. You're different. You're not one of them. Like, why do you believe that that's not the key point to success in life? Like, not having materialistic things flash all around you.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, man. I love materialistic things. Like you said, I've got nice cars, and I enjoy my nice cars. You've been to my gym before, right? Have you worked out in my gym?
Yeah.
BK Strength?
Yeah.
So
Leighton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you and Leighton have worked out. There's the gym, and then at the end of the gym is 2 glass doors where I park my cars when we're not running events. And I enjoy that because I was like, you know what? I want to work out in my own private gym where there's no one else working out in there other than my clients and my friends and my employees. Because I can. I bought a building for $1 million, built it out for $500,000, and made it my own gym and garage for my cars because I could. And when I'm working out in there, I might make some videos in there to talk about helping people in their life's journey, business, self-mastery, finding meaning and purpose. And guess what? If you happen to look around in the gym when I'm got my camera out, you see that it says BK Strength on the walls, and you see that it's this logo, and you go, holy shit, he's not in a public gym. But I'm not going to talk about, hey, this is $1 million building and $500,000. This is the first time I'm actually talking about that ever, and I've had that building for going on 10 years now, and I've built it out specifically to the specs that I wanted for the cars that I wanted to keep back there, etc. So why do I not talk about it? Because when you have a irrefutable and undeniable track record of winning and success in life, you don't have to use materialistic things to show that you're winning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'll give you a great example. This is actually pretty funny. About 15 years ago when I started to make a little bit of money, when we started Fit Body Bootcamp, and now we had like 30, 40 Fit Body Bootcamp locations, and so I'm getting some cash flow coming in and it feels good. Dude, I went out and I bought 8 custom suits over like a 1-year period. It wasn't all at once. So I bought like a couple and then a couple more. And I'm talking like I had my BK logo in the lining inside, and custom suits made out right here in Costa Mesa at a place that makes bespoke suits. 8 custom suits at about $3,000 a piece. And I bought several timepieces.
Teflon Don right here.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Funny thing is, all those suits and watches that I have sit in a walk-in closet about the size of the studio that you have. I don't wear them anymore. Because back then, when I was new money, I thought that, and I didn't have a track record yet. I hadn't hit the Inc. 500. I wasn't on the Entrepreneur Magazine's 200 fastest growing franchise. International Franchise Association hadn't recognized this yet. All these things have happened since then. I wasn't charging $100,000 a year for my coaching program like I do now, and I have literally New York Times bestselling authors as my coaching clients, right? Some of the top thought leaders and authors as my coaching clients. So since I didn't have that track record, when I had a little bit of money, I was like, how can I feel special? How can I show the world that I'm somebody special? with the Cartier watch that I'm wearing, with the Rolex watch that I'm wearing, with the custom bespoke suit that I'm wearing. Bro, I sweat so much. I'm Armenian. I don't need to wear suits. If I could sit naked here with you, Alex, so I could talk, I would feel even more comfortable, right? I don't like watches. The only thing I know about a watch, the moment I'm wearing a watch, I could feel it. I'm very hypersensitive to like weight on me.
Yeah.
Like these
Same.
bracelets are about
Same.
as heavy as I'm willing to deal with, right? And this was my mom's, only reason I'm wearing even this one is that my mom had in the Armenian culture, they have this thing where they, the beads
I know
where
what
they keep track of things. And just like, it's
you
like
made
a fidget spinner.
Yeah, you made it from that?
Yeah, I had my daughter turn this into a bracelet for me. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so I always have my mom with me, and that's the only reason why. But I share this with you because as I started to stack wins and have irrefutable proof of the badass that I am in life, I was like, I don't really need to flash any of this stuff. So, my property, it's a beautiful property. When I make videos on it to help the world, people see it, and I'll see a comment like, oh my God, that's a beautiful property. It looks like a resort. Thank you. But I'm not going to be walking around like, hey, take a look at this. I'm on a 1.5 acre piece of property in Southern California, and look at my backyard. It looks like a football field. Because it does. I've got just one part of my grass, Ed can tell you, it looks like a fucking football field, bro. You can put 2 uprights and kick a field goal. The previous owner would have 300-person weddings on there. I'm never going to be the guy that flashes because I have a track record of winning, and that gives me the confidence and reassurance I need. But when people don't have the track record and the social proof, then they go buying or renting the private jet, the Lamborghinis, the watches, and the Airbnbs to look like they're balling, when in reality, they're desperate. And so to me, humility is very important. And I have 2 kids, 17 and 19, that I'm responsible for leading. And I always want them to lead with humility and not with being a braggadocious asshole.
I'm not going to lie, and I'm about to ask this question. I actually start asking the actual questions that I wanted to ask. You set the standard pretty high, man. And I'll tell you something from personal experience, right? First of all, your events, fantastic.
Thank you.
Like, your events alone set the standard pretty high. I'm telling you, I've gone to a few events after you. I was like, what is this bullshit? You under promise and over deliver.
Thank you.
Events are always great. Legacy Tribe is fantastic. I'm one of the vets, and I'm still in it. Every call, under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard now, man. When these people try to hit me up, like I get hit up by people that you share stage with and their teams, and I have some personal videos, but I've experienced it in the last 6 months, and I don't know, it's because I'm in business now, or maybe I'm getting a tiny bit of fraction. I'm getting hit up by certain people, certain groups,
Well, you're standing out, man. You're doing a great job.
And what I'm noticing, man, and I'm set to say a lot of bullshit, a lot of fuss, a lot of fugazi stuff.
Fugazi.
Yeah, like no literally track record, but hey, come, dude, we can teach you to do this. We can show you to do this. Come join this brotherhood. Come join this for $19.99, whatever. And I'm like, nah, all I do is I compare.
Yeah.
Is this anything like B? Nah, fuck that. Is this event like yours? Nah, screw that. And these are big people names, like brands. I don't want to drop names right now because you might have shared stage with these people. But it's disappointing at the same time, but also like I have a standard to hold now. Like, okay, unless you guys are here, the standard will set high. I don't want to go to your event. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to talk to you, or unless we can do business together. Yeah. So it's kind of sad.
And good for you for having that standard, man. And I always tell people, look, hold me to the standard that I actually hold myself to. Like, if you're hanging around with me and you see me break character, like, oh shit, he yelled at Joan, or he was a dick to Ed, or whatever, right? Like, I thought he's a more like stand-up person than that. Fucking call me out. Stop doing business with me and go give your money elsewhere. But you'll never find me breaking character because I'm massively grateful for the life that I have. I will always stay humble. And more than what I owe you or my employees and business partners and all that, I need to set an example to Andrew and Chloe. I always assume that my son and daughter, in my mind's eye, I know people will be like, God, that's a stressful way to live. It's not. I always assume, you've heard me say this before, there's a drone flying over me, and at any given time, Andrew and Chloe could pull up their phone and be like, what is Dad doing? And they could see and hear everything I'm doing. And they will never catch me out of character. They'll never catch me sitting in my car eating fucking Taco Bell like a fat boy, you know what I mean? Because I talk shit about people like that, right? I used to be that guy when I was a kid, right? And I'm like, I talk shit about that guy because that guy does not feel good after stuffing his face with Taco Bell. So if I were to do that today, today, I would be a hypocrite. And my kids would see that. And people go, well, yeah, but there is no drone. They can't see you. They can't hear you. So why don't you treat yourself a little? Because I realize there's something called karma. And if I say I'm going to carry myself a certain way, that I'm going to do something today, I'm going to go work out this morning and tonight, just because I had a long, stressful day, does not absolve me from working out tonight. I said I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it. And my kids will feel that energy. It's as good as having a drone on me. And so when people hold themselves to that standard, you don't need to flash your shit. Just go win. Have a ton of social proof. Like, I have so many people speaking positively about me that people are like, man, I've heard about you. Oh my God, you exceeded my expectations. That's all I ever hear. And the day that I don't exceed your expectation, I believe you should stop becoming a coaching client. Don't do business with me and go do business with someone else. That's the standard I hold myself to. And I think if more people did that, the world would be a better place. People would get what they're promised instead of promising a unicorn and delivering a fucking donkey. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I think the internet is full of people like that nowadays.
Scammers everywhere, bro.
It's scammers everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm not your client, not yet. And one day I hope to be your client. Hopefully by then you don't charge $500,000. But if that, I know it's worth it. I know a lot of people. Some of your coaching clients are friends of mine, like Bree, Sean, Dan. All of them speak very highly of you, and all of them had success in their businesses.
Yeah.
And your coaching program alone, like I said, speaks highly for itself. And the question I want to ask you is, people say like, oh, all these coaching programs are a bunch of bullshit. The question I want to ask you is, critics say high-ticket coaching can exploit people's desperation, which happens all the time, especially nowadays. How do you personally define the difference between coaching that transforms lives and coaching that just extracts money?
Yeah. So there's two types of coaching. There's transformational coaching, and there's transactional coaching. Transactional coaching is, I'm going to spend all of my time on social media showcasing a life that I could barely afford to attract you as a client and teach you something that I myself haven't done. That is transactional. In other words, I extracted your money and I promised to teach you something that I myself have not done. Then there's transformational coaching. I'm going to let my coaching clients speak about me, because what do? If you become a coaching client, within 90 days, as soon as you hit your first win, I'm going to be like, hey, can you make a selfie video and send it to me? I'd love to share it on my website, and I'd love to share it on my social media. So I let my clients market me, right? So number one, does all coaching work? No, most coaching doesn't, because the person you're learning from doesn't know how to use the shovel. They're selling the shovel. I've used the shovel. I know how to use the shovel. Now I'm also selling the shovel. Like, I'm actively building brands and selling. Like, I've sold 2 businesses. I'm in the process of selling a 3rd business for 9 figures, bro. And this is a business that I thought from scratch and built it up over 15 years. I'm debt-free and self-funded. I never once raised capital for any of my businesses. I never went to private equity, and I'm not shitting on anyone that has, but it's a lot easier when I come up with a business idea, and I'm pretty well connected right now in life. I can go to people and raise $10, $15 million of other people's money and then start launching a business. I created one business. It did so well that I created another. So Fit Body Bootcamp went to Trulian Supplements. Trulian Supplements went to Fuel Hunt brand, where I put in money with them, right? And I was like, guys, we're going to be debt free, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to, because this was a separate company that I invested in.
Good guys too.
Yeah, great guys, Joey and Drew. And the software that I created, Fit Pro Tracker, same thing. Like, hey, I'm going to drop a few $100,000 in, and we're going to create a software platform for boutique gyms, because something like that does not exist. And so when you are in the trenches doing the work, you can teach others to grow a company from scratch, stay debt-free and self-funded, lead a big team, create systems and processes, take a business to valuation, and then exit. I've done all that. I've been sued. For making bad decisions in business because I didn't know how to negotiate a contract. So I made a bad contractual decision. And then when I decided to step away from that contract, the guy goes, hey, you signed this contract that you're going to give us $1.5 million. It was Salesforce. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Salesforce.
Sounds familiar, honestly.
It's a big CRM for,
okay.
and I'm not, for the record, everybody here in social media world, I'm not shitting on Salesforce. It's a great platform. It just wasn't a great platform for us.
Yeah.
But I signed an agreement that said we would pay them the 1.5 mil or whatever it was, whether we use the platform or not. When I felt that we were sold something that we weren't necessarily in need of, it had way too many bells and whistles. I told my team, I was like, hey guys, cut the contract. They're like, no, we can't cut the contract. We got a 3-year engagement with them. I was like, cut the contract, stop paying them. They're like, we can't. I'm like, do it. Stop paying them. You know, if there's an early cancellation fee, we'll just pay the cancellation fee, but we're not going to pay the whole 1.5 mil. And guess what? That was a really big lesson for me, because now I put exit clause in every contract that I do business with, that if I don't want to use your product for the term that we agreed upon, I'd rather pay a cancellation fee than have to write out the whole 3 years or 5 years. But that lawsuit that they sued me with was one of the greatest lessons. So I've been sued. I've exited companies. I've hired, I fired. I've got leaders in place. You know Bryce, the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. Joan is the CEO or the VP of my coaching business.
Bryce coming here too next month.
Perfect. Jeff Rosenquist, the vice president of Truly Supplements. So I run leaders. I run teams. And so if you're like, hey, Bedros, I've got a lawsuit pending, or I've got a team that I got to hire, or I've got this thing I'm going to do, I've been in the trenches and I've done that. So that is transformational coaching, right? And so what I tell people is, it's not whether does coaching work or not. Are you smart enough to hire a coach who actually is in the weeds doing it and has done what you want to achieve? Or are you just hiring someone who claims they can help you get there, but has never gotten there themselves? If you've never taken a business to an exit, to a sale, how can you help someone grow a business and take it to an exit? You can't. Maybe on paper you can say, you know, but I've studied it. Okay, well, professors profess, but they don't practice. There's not a single business professor out there who can outperform me. And I've got no college education. I don't have an MBA, but professors profess, but they don't practice. I'm in the weeds. I'm in the trenches. I'm in the shit practicing. And so if you want to know, like you talked about Bree, we can talk about this now. I hope she doesn't mind. I don't think the government will fine her for this. Do you remember when Trump got into office a few months back and he goes, tariffs on everybody? She makes this wax called Rebel Wax.
I remember. I was talking to her at that time.
Right.
She was. Yeah, she went through some
Stressing
turmoil.
out. Because she's like, oh my God, 50% tax on anything that comes out of China. And we scaled Rebel Wax from $0 to $2 million in 2 years, bro. Right?
Awesome.
Her brand. And so she's like, dude, what do I do? What do I do? I was like, all right, well, what country does not have a tariff, a 50% tariff with America? And we looked and we realized Malaysia didn't. So we took the barge and we put her Rebel Wax on a barge that went from China to Malaysia, from Malaysia to the United States, and we paid a 5% tariff tax and not a 50% tariff tax, because every other wax company was just passing that additional 50% tax that they were getting from the because they're getting their product from China. They're passing it along to the customer. I'm like, Bree, this is going to be our marketing advantage. We're going to go from China to Malaysia, Malaysia to the United States. She did, and boom, we crushed everybody. And we made a great marketing message behind it. We said, hey, we figured out a way to not have to pay the high tariffs, and so we're going to pass that savings along to you guys. And that's when Rebel Wax grew even bigger. Why was I able to think of that? Because I've done shit like that in my own business. And so I was able to help her with hers. And so no professor, a regular college professor or a coach who's never done that, they'd be like, well, you have to pay the 50% tax and then just pass it along to your customers. Are you fucking stupid? That's dumb. You know what I mean?
You know, that's the beauty about business is you got to be in the trenches to know how to. You got to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's been times where I get down there with my guys. I operate a forklift. I assemble stuff, tables. I clean stuff. I go out there. I meet people. I sign contracts. I learn electrical parts. Like, and believe me, like I had to do everything myself. Learn design, all that. It's annoying. I hate accounting. All that is annoying, but it's like I have to do it in order to know. Because one day when I start placing leaders, like I'm already training some guys to be like leaders on my team. So that I have to know what they're doing so that they don't take advantage of me.
Bingo. Because how do you know what winning looks like if you've never won in the warehouse? If you're like, hey, I'm up here in the conference room and in the studio filming shit, I don't know if I need 20 guys or 2 guys in the warehouse. So I'm just going to have to believe that they say I need 20 guys, so I'm going to get 20 guys. You don't know. But if you spent a week in the warehouse driving the forklift, assembling shit, you would know exactly how much time it takes to turn around an order. And you go, okay, I know exactly how many people we need. To that point, one of the greatest lessons I got in entrepreneurship was from the executive chef of Disneyland. When I worked at Disneyland as a busboy and then ultimately ended up moving up to a fry cook and then a dinner cook, the executive chef of Disneyland, I don't remember his name, but he was Austrian and had a heavy Austrian accent like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. And he came into our restaurant, Carnation Cafe, because we were revamping the menu, and it's his job to revamp the menu and then to teach us how to make the food products. And he said, as a chef of a restaurant, it's my job to know how to bus. And he points to the bus boys. It's my job to know how to be a fry cook. And he points to the fry cook. It's my job to know how to be the dinner cook. And he points to me. It's my job to be a good host, to know what the host does in terms of seating people. It's my job to be a great server. And it's my job to be a great person on the fountain. Because Disneyland at Carnation Cafe, the fountain is where they make all the ice cream desserts and shit.
I remember
right?
the fountain story too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was a gnarly one. So, and I asked him, I said, Chef, why is it your job to do that? He goes, because outside of Disneyland, when you're running your own restaurant, if your host does not show up to work, the chef has to go out there and be the host. If your dinner cook doesn't show up, you're the dinner cook. If the busboy doesn't show up, you're the busboy that night. He goes, I need to know every role so that I know how many people I need to have per shift. I know how quickly we can turn tables over. He goes, that doesn't mean I need to do the role every day, but I need to know the role intimately. And I remember I'm going to take that with me when I become an entrepreneur, because I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I may not know how to do SEO, but I know how many technology people I need for the SEO and the paid ads and the content creation and all that. So I can jump in the weeds at any given time and pick up if I need to. And I think that's a very important thing, man. What you're doing down in the warehouse, getting in the weeds, one, builds a lot of culture and community with the rest of your team, because they go, hey, the boss isn't just up there on in his white ivory tower. He's down here doing it. But you also know how to keep your finger on the pulse of your own business, which is important.
Yeah, also I want to add to that what I learned, and my guys are mostly Hispanic, you saw, right? You earn respect. Like they don't give a shit if you're a boss or not. Like in order for them to respect you, you got to put in the work. You got to get down and dirty, break a sweat. And so, because I know, like, I've been here literally 20, 24-hour shifts before. I've done it to the point where they're running exhausted. Like, boss, can we go home? And we're like, no, we got to get this done. And they get it done because they see me climbing and they're like, well, screw that. Like, if our boss is doing it, we're going to stay here and we're going to get it done.
From the front.
So, yeah, you're totally right, man. I like that example. Speaking of Fit Body Bootcamp, you grew Fit Body Bootcamp into absolute monster and one of the fastest fitness franchises. What was the turning point that took this idea to a nationwide brand?
Yeah. So when the economy crashed in 2008, the housing market crashed, I knew that one-on-one personal training was going to be too expensive for people to afford anymore. And that outdoor boot camp that people were doing at parks and beaches and stuff, I'm like, if we can take that outdoor boot camp, bring it indoors and systematize it, I can make this the new group personal training and then reduce the price of personal training from like $800 a month, one-on-one personal training, to like $199 a month in a group environment, because it's now one coach, many clients. So I knew I could make personal training more affordable and convenient, right? All right, so that was the model. Housing market crashes in 2008. By 2010, I've created Fit Body Bootcamp. By 2012, I franchised it. By 2010 to 2012, we were a licensing program, kind of like CrossFit. And then by 2012, we became an official franchise and just started adding even more locations. The turning point for me was 2013, when I realized that never in my life am I going to be able to have a big exit other than Fit Body Bootcamp. Because at the time I had a coaching business. I was coaching gym owners that did one-on-one personal training. So this is how I knew that people weren't able to afford one-on-one personal training anymore, because the coaches that I was coaching, the personal trainers, they were like, hey, I'm losing clients left and right. How do I get them back? I'm like, look, they're losing their homes, they're losing their houses, they're losing their income. They can't afford you. And so now I was losing money because they're my coaching clients and I'm losing. So I knew there's an opportunity here. But as a coach, I can't sell my coaching business because it's so personality dependent. But I realized in that moment that this is my chance to build a business and a brand, a franchise, that if I one day wanted to sell this thing for 9 figures, I could. And that's exactly what I did, because it wasn't dependent on me. It was dependent on the systems, the people, and the brand itself, right? And so I've got great people that run the brand. Bryce is the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. We've got great systems in place. We bring awesome franchisees who help grow the brand and the recognition between the U.S. and Canada. We have hundreds of locations. And now we're in the process of heading towards an exit with Fit Body Bootcamp, which is an exciting thing for me. Yeah, that's
After 15 years.
Yeah,
That's your baby.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
now I'm in the process of taking my baby to the market and selling it. And what's really cool is I remember thinking to myself, like, what does a 9-figure check look like? Like if someone's going to write $100,000 check or $100 million check, what does that look like? And A friend of mine told me, like, hey, just so you know, no one's going to write you that kind of check. They're going to wire you the money. I was like, yeah, you're right. I go, but I think I'm going to ask them to write me $100 million check.
Like a big one?
Yeah,
one
yeah.
yeah.
I'm just curious. Like, how many zeros are you going to see on a piece of paper, right? Like, that's so cool. So the turning point for me was to realize that this can be the big feather in my cap.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to have that because to me, entrepreneurship is a sport.
Mm-hmm.
I see myself as an athlete.
Ooh, I love that.
And I
It's a
think,
sport.
yeah. And I think the Super Bowl of, like, you know, the Super Bowl ring that the winners get, the Super Bowl ring for an entrepreneur is when they have a big exit. It's like thinking of the business, thinking it up is one thing. You know, you're eating breakfast or you're taking a shower and you think of this great business idea. But think how many millions of people think up a business idea and then don't execute because they're afraid, or they don't have the balls to do it, or they don't feel they have the money. They don't feel their spouse would support them. So to think up a business and then to start it up and then to make it profitable. Hell, most 85% of businesses don't even become profitable. To make it profitable and then to grow it by having people and processes in place, and then to make it a national brand, and then to make it so attractive as a national brand and it's so profitable that a private equity company says, I want to buy this from you for millions. That is your Super Bowl ring in the sport of entrepreneurship, and I want that.
Wow, I never looked at business as a sport, man.
Yeah,
But
and you're an athlete, man. And people who don't see themselves
puts
as
things in perspective.
it does. Because now you realize,
time.
oh shit, like my sleep, my training, my food, like my conversations with the people around me, all of these things. Like a pro athlete manages all those things, right? Mm-hmm. You and I as entrepreneurs have to manage all those elements as well so we can perform best in the boardroom. That's our playing field.
Yeah, dude. Speaking, it's including the fitness and nutrition. Like that goes hand in hand. You always say it's not a business plan, but a businessman.
Exactly.
Like you always preach about the 4 Fs too.
Mm-hmm.
The faith, family, fitness, and finances.
Yep.
Yeah. It has to come down to that. Like my life transformed when I started really taking my fitness and nutrition seriously. I went from a little blob to the second chin. My wife still makes fun of me.
Look at you now, man. You're like a specimen, bro.
Thank you. I actually got a little chunky because I took advantage of the pregnancy. Not gonna lie, man.
You had to be a good husband to support.
I supported. I supported the cheat meals, all that. So now, like I told my wife, like, oh, listen, I'm gonna give you like maybe another month, but I'm gonna start filtering stuff out of the drawers eventually. I'm gonna go back to my routine, and I already start doing it. And she's like, well, I need some more time. I'm like, all right, because if it's not at home, I'm not gonna eat it. But if it's at home, and then I start munching.
There's actually studies that show that. They say when something is on the counter, you're 7 times more likely to grab it.
That's so true, dude.
If it's in the cupboard, you're 3 times more likely to grab it. And if it's not in the home, you're 0 times more likely to grab it. So the studies actually are true about that.
Dude, my wife calls me Nazi, which makes no sense because I'm Russian. And I'm like, babe, you're not making sense. Like, I don't care. You're a
communist,
Nazi.
maybe, but Nazi.
Yeah, you're a Nazi when it comes to like kitchen and nutrition and this and that. I was like, all right, I'll let you have it.
I love that.
You talk about the entrepreneur, someone too scared. So I had a question for you about that. There's a good book right there that I read called Man Up. You might know the author. Okay, it's one of my favorite books.
My book, I love that.
And you talk about the immigrant edge, right? So I want to kind of touch base on that, and also you emphasize the cutting excuses and taking action. And what's the number one excuse that holds entrepreneurs back? And I'm asking this also for myself because I'll be selfish right now. Like, what is the number one excuse?
The number one excuse that holds entrepreneurs back is the story that they tell themselves. So the story that I'm not smart enough, I don't have a business degree, I didn't come from a family of entrepreneurs. It's basically a belief system misfire, right? Our belief systems determine what we're capable of doing or not. And so if we tell ourselves the story that, hey, I'm an immigrant, I'm not white collar, I didn't speak the language, I had to learn the English language, I dropped out of I went to Fullerton Junior College for 32 days and I dropped out. So I'm a college dropout, right? So if I continue to tell myself that story and start buying into the narrative that I'm just supposed to be a blue collar guy that barely makes by with his financial income, whatever story you tell yourself is exactly the narrative that you end up living. It's just you believe the story, so then you start literally role playing that out in your life. The difference with me was that I found a mentor. When I was a personal trainer doing one-on-one personal training, Jim Franco, who I talk about in my book, Man Up. He was my 4th personal training client. And one day he looked at me, he goes, why are you yawning? I go, because I'm tired. He He goes, why are you tired? It's early in the morning. I go, because I went to bed at 3 in the morning. Well, why'd you go to bed at 3 in the morning? Because I'm also a bouncer at a gay bar. Because, by the way, for the record, you almost drowned on there. True story.
I know the story, but the way you said it.
Yeah. That's what I told him to do. I was like, I'm a bouncer at a gay bar. And he asked me, he goes, why a gay bar? I go, because the gay bar pays more than the straight bar. And I need money because I don't have enough personal training clients. I go, you're just one of my 4 personal training clients. And he goes, you know why you don't? He goes, you're in great shape. He goes, do you know why you don't have enough personal training clients? I go, why? He goes, because you're an order taker. You don't know how to sell. I go, what do you mean I'm an order taker? He goes, yeah, you don't know how to sell. I go, well, I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a salesman. I like helping people transform their body. So the story I had told myself was, because I'm in great shape, because I'm certified, because I have knowledge in the body and nutrition and how to work out, that should be enough for you to go, hey, good-looking, handsome guy with the muscles, I want to hire you as a personal trainer. That ain't how it works. I needed to go treadmill to treadmill, stair climber to stair climber, machine to machine, and talk to people. And Jim Franco taught me how to prospect and sell inside of that big, giant LA Fitness in La Habra, California. And when I did, within like a month and a half, once he taught me how to sell and he taught me how to prospect, within a month and a half, I had like 15 more clients on top of the 4 that I had. I quit my 2 side jobs because I was a busboy.
In that gym, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In that gym. So now I got a full load of clients, right? And I'm like, holy shit, Jim, I'm making money. This is great. Thank you for teaching me how to sell. He goes, yeah, you're no longer an order taker. Like, he broke a belief in me. My belief system was, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't know how to sell. Selling is for like used car salesmen. I'm a professional personal trainer. You should hire me for my expertise and my knowledge. Well, and so if I tell myself that story, I'm never going to be a good salesperson. So I'm always going to have a side job as a bouncer. And that's kind of how most people lived. When I realized that, no, that's just a story I was telling myself. And like anyone else, I can develop new skills and I could develop a new identity, which means I got to tell myself a new story that I can get better at selling. And selling is something that I'm proud of because it's a transference of feelings. Right now, we're selling each other because we're transferring the energy, right? And so why wouldn't I embrace selling? And as soon as I did, my number of clients grew. And Jim believed in me so much that he said, what if I invested in you opening up a personal training studio? And he invested in my first personal training studio. He became my business partner. To have a multi-millionaire invest in you, all of a sudden you feel like you're 12 feet tall because I looked at him as like, the guy has 4 or 5 different cars. He drives to the gym in different cars every day. Everyone knows him in the community. I went to his office one time and he had like 50 some odd employees and they all love him. I'm like, wow, this is what a millionaire is like, right? And all of a sudden he's investing in me. So he sees something in myself that I don't. My belief systems were changed. And immediately the story I told myself was different, that I can be like him. And I soon became exactly like him.
I can't emphasize enough that what you just said is so true. I made a solo episode talking about the importance of mentorship. I think I called it The Only Shortcut to Success. I literally called that episode.
Yeah.
And I talk about how my first mentor, my partner, and my best friend Kevin, also like since day one he's been teaching me, investing into me, and how important it was for me when he'd tell me, "Hey, dude, I believe in you." Like I remember my first $100,000 contract. I was like, "Holy shit, dude, what do I do?" He was like, "Bro, I've trained you up to this point. I've seen you do the work. I believe in you. Go get it." Now it's like 100,000. Throw me to the wolves. I got it. Now for me to be scared, it had to be like $500,000 or $1 million. Or like a big contract, but
because you're stretching yourself,
and the belief that he has in me and even you is so important. And I'll share a very intimate story with you right now that only my wife knows. It was, I forgot what event. I think it was Scottsdale BK or something, or one of the masterminds. I was with you, and I was sharing a win with you. I don't remember what I was telling you, and you said, as I'm telling you my win, you're like, "Oh, good job, Alex. I'm proud of you, man. Wow." Something along those lines. Are you proud of me? And I disregarded that and I kept telling you my story. But I registered in the back of my head. And then as I was walking away, I'm like, fuck. B just said he's proud of me and what I've accomplished. Like, I've never had a person like that, tell me, a man who I respect and admire so much, tell me that. So because I never had that, my brain didn't register your compliment.
Right. I kept telling you, accept it.
Yeah, I didn't want to accept it. I was like, well, fuck. I'm like, babe, like he fucking told me that, and I respect his opinion. And Kevin tells me that. So like, I can't do shit, you know. So that was, that was when I shared that win with you, man.
Well, thank you for receiving that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it took me a while to receive it. I was
4 weeks later.
Yeah, 4 weeks later. But it was that. What I want to do is I want to take take you back to the little Bedros.
All right.
Okay, because I'm a very big fan of childhood, acute childhood experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm a byproduct of going through a lot of shit as a man growing up, like domestic violence, drugs, alcohol, physical abuse. Like my dad stabbed my mom in front of me.
Oh, man.
So I've seen all kinds of shit. My dad was an alcoholic, not a bad man. I made peace with him. I love my dad. May he rest in peace. But he had his own demons. Sure. He could never fight them. So I want to take you back to the little Bedros, right? Because I know some things that happened to you that made you who you are today. And also, what is it that really shaped you? Because I think I know what it was that really shaped you. And I have a feeling from you that you're like allergic or like afraid of being broke. Like you're like allergic to it. Yeah. So like, where did that also come from? So take me back a little bit.
Yeah. So let's first go back to Armenia. So I was 6 years old when we came to America, right? We escaped the Soviet Union, Armenia, and we came to America. But in Armenia, I was sexually abused by 2 older boys. And I never once talked about that until about 10 years ago after I worked with a therapist, because I had a massive panic attack. I talk about it in my book, Man Up, about what led to the panic attack and why I talked about, how the therapist won my trust and built rapport with me over months. And I was able to finally talk about that for the first time and heal from it. Now I can talk about it on a podcast.
How old were you when you
It was between the ages of 4 and 6.
No, when you finally opened up.
To Kevin, my therapist, I was 38. I'm 51 now.
Cool. So you carried for over 34 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So imagine in a marriage, you don't talk to your spouse about it. You don't talk to your best friends about it. You don't talk to your business partners about it. Yet it shows up everywhere. It shows up in your marriage. It shows up in your friendships. It shows up in your partnerships. Because as soon as there's a little bit of tension, you regress back to your trauma body. And so I would go back into that trauma state. And so that was a whole different story. So that happens in Armenia. I put it in a box and put it away in my head.
Typical.
That's what men do. Mm-hmm. And we come to the United States. I don't speak English. I don't understand the culture. We're living in Section 8 housing in Santa Ana, California, not too far from here. And, there's gangbangers and shit who are picking on me. And because I'm a foreigner, I got a funny haircut at this point, right? And I can't speak the language, so I'm perfect to be picked on at that point. And so you end up dealing with a lot of like physical abuse and verbal abuse there, all while also seeing my mom and dad and my older brother and older sister working their nuts off, like each of them having 2-3 jobs. So my dad pumped gas at a Arco gas station. He also worked at a pizzeria, and he passed out newspaper delivery at night at like 2 a.m. My sister worked at the same pizzeria that my dad did, just 2 different shifts. My sister's significantly older than me. So while I was 6, my sister is 16 years older than me, so she was 21 when we got here, 21 years old. I'm the oops baby.
Yeah,
in case you're
I have the same gap with my sister. She's 16 years old.
Okay, there you go.
People thought I was her child, and someone was lying.
Oh my God, I was going to say, did your sister kind of help raise you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sister helped raise me, and I still see her kind of as a mom figure right now, and I just love her to pieces. So imagine this, man. You're the baby of the family, the youngest of the family. You're in America. You guys are broke. Like, sometimes we don't have electricity because my dad can't pay the electric bill. Sometimes we don't have gas, but we always needed water, so he always paid the water bill in the apartment complex. And even though we lived in Section 8 housing, where the government subsidizes our rent, and we had food stamps and things like that, we still didn't have enough money for a family of 5. And so my sister worked at this pizza. One of the jobs that she had was at this pizzeria, and the boss was very, very handsy with her. He was very suggestive with her as well. She would come home crying at least once a week, complaining to my dad that I want to quit that job. Like, let me quit that job. And I hate to tell this part of the story, but my dad, because we needed the money so bad, he was like, just one more month, and we'll be on our feet, and where I'll have enough money, and you can quit that job. So remember, because of our age gap, my sister raised me in Armenia, right? And she also took care of me here in the United States. And so after seeing my sister crying to my dad several times, I remember one specific time, I went up to her, and by this time I'm 7, maybe 8 years old. I went up to her. Her name is Julie, and I said, Julie, John. John means like my dear sister.
Yeah, the same. We use John in my
you guys use John
in Russian?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Julie John, and I said in Armenian, I said, hey, when I'm older, you'll never have to work again because I'm going to make sure that you work for me or you're paid, right? At 7 years old, you're thinking you're helping solve her immediate problem. You're not, because there's going to be another decade before, at least more, before I can make any money. So, she gave me a hug and she was crying and whatever. And I felt like I somehow contributed to helping her in that moment. But in reality, I didn't. So I would see us running out of money before we ran out of month. And my dad would have to make the decision. Do we pay the gas bill? Do we pay the electric bill? Because we can't pay all the bills, right? And we would get kicked out of apartments left and right because even though it's subsidized, you still have to pay some rent. And so you still have to get kicked out every now and again. And then back then, there was apartments. A lot of the apartments had signs that said no kids, no pets. Today, that's illegal. You can't have no kid apartments unless it's senior assisted living. But back then in the 80s in America, no kid, no pet apartments.
Savages,
Yeah.
dude. Wow.
So if they were cheaper and they accepted Section 8 funding, my parents would get the apartment and they would sneak me in and sneak me out of the apartment until somebody saw. So I would feel guilty that we got kicked out of the apartment because of me.
Wow.
So now I'm carrying this guilt. I'm seeing us broke. I'm seeing my sister cry because of this pervert piece of shit boss that she's working for. And I realized that the only reason my dad is asking her to hold the job down still is because we need the money. So money, everything around me revolved around money. We'd live in a better place if we had money. My sister could quit that job if we had money. We would have to not make a decision about electric or gas if we had money. And so I kept my promise to my sister about 15 years ago. I told her to quit her job at Delta Dental. And she goes, what do you mean to quit my job? I got a great job. They pay me insurance and I have 401k. I'm like, I want you to quit your job at Delta Dental. Whatever they're paying you, I'm going to pay you that. I'm going to give you the same cost of living raise every year. And I'm going to create a 401k account for you here in my company. She goes, well, what do I do for your company? I go, nothing. You will do nothing. You will stay at home and do nothing. You will just take care of mom and dad because they live one block away from each other. Until this day, I pay for my sister's life and her house and everything. And she's got a great husband, so it's not like, he's a deadbeat or whatever. I want to pay for her salary and her life, and it just makes me feel so good. I am absolutely allergic and afraid of going broke again. And so I work hard, but I'm not so afraid where I'm paranoid. I just know that I love the life that I have. I never want to be broke again. Money is a superpower. It allows me to pay for my sister. It allowed me to have a live-in Armenian-speaking nurse when my mom was going through hospice with her dementia. Now that my dad lives by himself, we've got an Armenian-speaking nurse who stays with him 7 days a week. And as it turns out, the nurse's dad was from the same village that my dad was from, so they have shit in common, right? And I'm able to pay for all that for my mom and dad, man. I was for my sister, and I'm able to donate millions of dollars to Shriners Children's Hospital. And so money to me is a superpower. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm contributing and serving and helping. And I never want to go broke again because I remember feeling so helpless in the Section 8 housing complexes. I remember feeling like I want to help my sister. I want to help my dad. I want to get out of this abusive complex where these gangbangers are beating me up every day and calling me fucking names, telling me to go back to my own country. I'm like, I'll go. I don't even know how to go. Like, I'm a fucking kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. So money to me is a superpower, and I'll never, ever, ever take it for granted. Yeah. Ever.
So it's true story of American dream right there. I mean, you took all the disadvantages, everything, all the enemies, and you flipped it around.
Yeah.
You didn't become a victim.
No, man. Jim Franco was such a great example to me because I knew I wanted to be a rich person, and I knew entrepreneurship was going to be that path, but I didn't realize how much good I could do with money. I knew I wanted to take care of my sister, but I didn't realize how much good I could do with my money until I started to associate with Jim Franco more, and I saw that how he gave bonuses. He would invite me as his personal trainer. He would invite me to his company's Christmas party, and I would see how he would give cash bonuses to all his employees. Wow. He's a very devout Christian, so I would see how he would give big donations to his church, right? And I realized, I don't just need to take care of my sister. I can take care of charities that I believe in. Like I've got 97 kids adopted through Compassion International for years now. They write letters, and my kids still respond back to the letters. And we help them have clean water and clean food and pencils and clothing to go to school and all that shit. That feels good, man. And with what happened to me as a kid, people go, Compassion International, that's a kid-based charity. Shriners Children's Hospital. That's a kid-based charity. And then every year we buy thousands of dollars of toys with Toys for Tots, kid-based charity. Yeah, guess what, genius? I am healing my inner child by using my money for good, and that's a damn good thing to do. More people should do that.
It does go back to the childhood.
It does, man. Little Bedros has become quite the formidable man, and I'm so proud of him, man.
Yeah,
I really am.
Not so little, man. I mean, look at you. There's a question that I wanted to ask. That's purely from me. Now that I have a baby, I have a little 1 month old, and I'm obviously in business. I'm left a 9 to 5. I can't help but think, where do I shift my legacy now? Because before it was obviously business and me and my wife, and now I have this little human that I hold in my hands every day, that I look forward to going back home and holding her and smelling her and kissing her, and hopefully God blesses me with a couple of more. And now priorities shifted.
Yeah.
And now, like, what do I focus on? Do I still remain like dedicated to business? And my wife sometimes hates me. It's like, you're not even present. You're so into business. Or now do I this is my legacy, like my child, my living human being? Because I've heard somewhere, I read somewhere, it says the only thing you can take with us to the next world are your children, not the cars, not the homes, nothing. If there's a heaven out there, the only thing you can take with me are the souls of your children, if you teach them right and you raise them right. So now I'm like, well, damn, what should my priorities be now? How should I map out my life now, or how adjust it now that I have this human being I'm responsible for?
Well, I can tell you what gives me peace. At 51 years old, and you're how, 36? 36, right? So we're almost 2 decades apart. I'm 51, you're 36, and I can tell you what gives me peace. What gives me peace is to know that as a human, we have capacity way more than we think. We have way more capacity than we think. So there's nothing wrong with building a legacy business while also building a legacy with your children, while also eventually one day Alex might build a legacy with his wife in a charitable contribution way, where there might be the Alex Payne Memorial Center that donates to college funds or whatever.
God's willing, brother.
Right? And so I have to remind people that Elon Musk isn't just dedicated to Tesla. He's got Tesla, he's got Neuralink, he's got Starlink, he's got the Boring Company, he's got SpaceX. And so if each one of those is like a child. If he could create 5 businesses and still have
12 children.
Yeah. And still have time to go into the government and, with Doge and help clean up the government and align the government's financial. We have a lot more capacity. What we have to do is be where our feet are. And this is something from Ed Milet. So I have to give credit to Ed Milet, great human being, one of my dearest friends. And Ed Milet says, be where your feet are. So when you're here, focus, work, and do only the things that Alex Payne can do to move the business forward. Like if you are like, hey, I'm going to go hang the curtain. Like, no, hire a handyman to hang the curtain. There's more important things for you to do than hanging the curtain, right? But when you're at home, be where your feet are. Your baby and your wife are the highest of priorities. And I've done that in my life ever since hearing Ed Milet talk about that. And I no longer feel guilty when I'm at work or guilty about work when I'm at home, because I'm right where my feet are. So if you are intentionally pouring into your daughter and your wife when you're with them, and then when you're at work, you're doing this, and then when you're doing the next thing, you're doing that, you're good. We have way more capacity than we think. And so you don't have to pick and choose where your legacy is. Your legacy can be in several different directions. Sometimes you might have to prioritize one over the other, right? I'll give you a great example. Right now, you just need to kiss up and hold your baby and smell her and let her feel daddy's energy. That's it.
Copy that.
That might not take too much time. When your daughter, remember my first daddy-daughter date with Chloe was when she was 6 years old. We started going on daddy-daughter dates. And she asked me, and the only reason we started doing that is because she was like, oh, you and mommy, you keep saying, hey, we're going on a date, and you put us with Tati and Papi, grandparents.
Yeah.
Where do you guys go on a date? Like, what is a date? I'm like, oh, we got to eat, and then we might go to the bookstore or catch a movie after we eat. She goes, oh, I want to go on a date with you. I was like, shoot, okay, So I do what I did with my wife. Open the door for her. Go to the passenger side, open the door, and I go, hey, Chloe, when you're older and you have a friend who's a boy, if you go on a date and he doesn't open your door, don't go in the car.
I love it.
Because it's a boy's job to open the door. Okay, baby? She goes, all right, Dad. So she gets in the car. And then she goes, what else do you and your mom do when you guys are in the car? I go, well, baby, we hold hands. Bro, she reaches across the center console of my truck and holds my hand. And I almost started bawling, right? So now I'm driving to Yogurtland because our date was going to be Yogurtland and then bowling. And so I'm driving to Yogurtland, like just barely holding it together as I'm holding her hand, right? And then I go, I think there's another lesson here. I turn to her, I go, hey, Chloe. She goes, yeah, Dad. I go, when you have a friend who's a boy when you're older and you're in a car with him, and if he wants to do anything more than hold your hand, don't do it. And if you feel uncomfortable, tell him to stop the car. You get out, and Daddy and brother will come and get you. Okay, baby? All right, Daddy. She's 6 years old. She doesn't really know the context, but I'm brainwashing her at that point. Today, she's 17. We still go on dates, except our dates are a little different. We go to the gym at night, so I'll either go with Andrew or Chloe. We'll train like savages at night because I do my own personal workouts in the morning by myself because that's me time. But in the evenings, I'll train with either Andrew or Chloe. And then after that, we'll go to like Chick-fil-A, and we still have our date nights, bro. And my point is, when she was a baby, I just needed to smell her and kiss her and let her feel my energy. As she got older, we had date nights. And then now I spend even more time with her and would pour into her. And she took the SATs and the grades weren't the score wasn't that high. So, hey, what can we do to get you better SATs? Like, is there a course we can buy, Chloe? And so later on in years, you're going to be more important to her. Not that you're not important now. She just needs to sense your energy and feel your energy. But later, you're going to mentor her, coach her, and conversate and build memories and all those things. So build now while you can so that you can spend less time here and more time there on that legacy. But that does not mean this legacy stops. You will hopefully have leadership in place like I have in my companies so those leaders can carry your vision forward while you carry your legacy forward with your family.
I love that. Yeah, mine's not allowed to have any boyfriends. I told her the other day when we race, if I win, she's not having any boyfriends. I won the race. She's not having any boyfriends.
I like that. You raced the baby and you won. Hey, guess what? That's it.
That's it.
That's
she
it.
fell behind.
It's out.
I have a lot of more questions, but I want to respect all of your time. I always ask this one question before I close out my episode, right? And kind of date the whole back of my purpose and the name of my podcast. It's a two-part question, but I think it's a very important question, and I would like to give as much value as I can to my listeners and viewers. The question is this: what do you think is the purpose of life, and how can one find or create their purpose?
I love that. So I think that's a great question, and I'm going to just tweak it a little bit. What is the meaning of life? Let's just say that. What is the meaning of life? The meaning of everybody's life is to evolve from human animal to human being, as we talked about earlier, right? In other words, we're born to be selfish, low self-esteem, immature, impulsive, all those things. And that's by design, by God's design. Could you imagine how boring life would be if you were born perfect?
Yeah.
Like, Alex is a great decision maker. He's handsome. He's buff. There's no chub on him whatsoever. He just is very intelligent and always makes the right moves. And oh, by the way, he's so stoic. He never is angry, and he always is just calm under chaos. Oh, what a boring life that would be. To become that guy, you have to kill this guy, the human animal, right? So the meaning of life for everybody is to kill the 1.0 and evolve and elevate to 2.0. When we evolve and elevate to 2.0, we then go, how do I serve humanity? So first we serve ourselves by going from 1.0 to 2.0. Faith, family, fitness, finance, habits, behaviors, traits, evolution, personal development, growth, overcoming the fucking, if you were molested or abused or all these things, right? Therapy. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen. You kill that human animal, you become consciousness, human being. And then you go, now that I've created this more awesome, elevated, conscious, connected person, how can this person serve the world? Now we develop and not find our purpose, because our purpose is not lost. It's not like a book that's sitting under a desk that we have to find. Our purpose needs to be developed. It can only be developed through service. And so I tell people, find several things you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in running, you're interested in law, you're interested in books, you're interested in entrepreneurship, you're interested in food. That doesn't mean you should open up a restaurant. Go work in a restaurant, right? Or take a cooking class or two. And the things that you're most interested in, serve humanity with it. Like, serve people with it. Usually one or two of those interests will rise to the top and you'll be like, you know what? I like this interest. For me, I was a fat kid. I was a chunky kid, just like you described yourself. Only reason I got in shape in high school, senior year of high school, the summer before senior year, was so I can go to the prom and ask out Nakaya because she was smoking hot
It's
Latina.
always women.
Yeah, it's always a woman, man. Women will literally, men will start wars for women, and we will try and like conquer mountains for women. Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, if I'm in better shape, I can ask her how, and she will say yes. So I got in shape because I talked to a football player who was in my science class with me, and I was like, dude, you're in great shape. Teach me how to work out and eat right. He did. But I never had the balls to ask Nakaya to the prom. So I never went to the prom. That's a true story. And you know, people always ask me, like, does Nakaya know this story? I don't know how to get a hold of her. I don't plan on getting a hold of her. I'm happy with my life. Like, if she ever hears it, good for her. I hope she knows that I had the hots for her. She was a very beautiful girl. Great energy. Anyways, all this to tell you that I realized that when I got in shape, never mind being fit, I loved the confidence that I had, the self-esteem that I had. I had this ability. I stopped looking at people's feet and I started looking in their eyes because I felt like I was deserving of like human interaction now. Because when you're fat and you're embarrassed of yourself, you kind of hide and you just kind of look down, right? And so I was like, man, I think after high school, I'm going to become a personal trainer because I was interested in it. And then Jim Franco showed me that by selling, I can take what I'm good at and help more people with it. And then I developed competency. So my interest turned into competency. My competency turned into mastery. I became so good that I opened up a gym, and Jim Franco helped fund my personal training studio. And then from there, that led to coaching and consulting, opening up my own gyms, and then starting Fit Body Bootcamp, an international fitness franchise where now through all of our hundreds of locations, I'm the world's best fucking personal trainer still because I'm impacting so many lives of people who never meet me through fitness. So what became an interest became competency, became mastery. Now, in that same time, I also enjoyed DJing, right? We saw the Technic 1200. Yeah, that you learned today. So part of my interest was I loved cars. So I was also going to school to be a technical school to become a smog technician because I was like, hey, if I work with cars, you know. So I was going to school to become a smog technician, but I also got certified as a personal trainer, and I thought I'd want to be a DJ because I love music and had my own turntables and stuff, and actually did a couple of events and stuff like just high school proms and shit like that. But of the three things, the interest that really caught my attention was personal training. And that became a competency, and then I developed mastery and turned it into my life's purpose, my life's mission. And so does that mean my mission will change? Sure, it's evolved several times. I now help people evolve in a different way, mentally. I help them have the mental breakthroughs they need to get to the area of life they need to conquer their next mountain, right? But it's still helping people develop. So as it turns out, I'm a good coach for humans, whether it's mental, physical, financial, doesn't matter. I love coaching people and seeing them rise to their highest potential. That's how we develop our purpose. But first we have to figure out the meaning of life is going from human animal to human being, and then figuring out all the different interests that we have, and then letting that one interest rise to the top and developing mastery, being so good at it that people want to pay you, and that becomes your life's purpose to serve. And over time, you may actually end up finding new levels of purpose as well, and that is healthy. As you get older, you know, maybe it becomes your kids. Maybe it becomes a new thing. Like you wanted to be a cop for a reason. And when you described what happened between your mom and dad, I imagine you wanted to be a cop because you don't want it to make sure that that doesn't happen, domestic violence doesn't happen again. But what was going to be your cop as a purpose lasted a decade, and then you found a new level of purpose. And then you will, and here we are doing it, your podcast and your business. And then you will find a new one as you get older, right? And that is life. We evolve and grow, but it is developing our purpose and never finding it.
You write your story as you go.
Yeah, you write your story as you go.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Great. B, again, thank you so much for being here. And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, the legendary Bedros Keuilian.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And I wish you best of luck. I wish, the sale of your business, of your baby, I hope that goes well. And you get that massive, art check.
The big check.
And I'm really looking forward to find out what the next chapter of your life and your purpose will be.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.